Still got leftovers at home from the big meal? Well, today we're going to talk about gratitude, but this month we've been talking about God rocks. And we started the month with Reverend Joanne and Debbie talking those 4 Sundays, but let's talk about Thanksgiving just for a minute. You know, this is a weekend that was overflowing with food, family, friends. But in New Thought, Thanksgiving is so much more than a holiday. It's so much better than a day circled on the calendar. It's actually a spiritual principle. It is a state of consciousness. And I love this line, and I think it holds the heart of today's message. Thanksgiving is not a day. It is a consciousness that multiplies our blessings. That was our Thanksgiving message on our post also. So that consciousness is what we're going to talk about today. But before we step into gratitude itself, let's ground ourselves in the journey of the past 4 Sundays. Because each message built on the different steps for spiritual mind treatment. Reverend Joanne began the month with Jesus' parable of the wise person who builds their house upon a rock. She took us deep into the timeless truth that God, divine intelligence, divine presence, pure good, is the solid ground beneath all appearances. She showed us that the rock is not rigidity. It is a changeless nature of spirit. It is a foundation upon all creation rests. She gave us step 1 of treatment, which was recognition that God is good, and God is the eternal presence. In Holmes's language, there is one life, and that life is God, and that life is my life now. And then Reverend Debbie took us on a memorable acronym, the word growth. G was God is good all the time. This is the cornerstone of New Thought. God is good, life is for us. Holmes would say, the nature of God is wholeness, therefore the nature of us is wholeness also. R was for righteous judgment. This is spiritual sight, seeing truthfully, not fearfully. Seeking from God vision, rather than limited vision. O was opportunity outlook. Every moment contains an opportunity for spiritual exploration. Every challenge hides an invitation. Rumi said, when the soul lies down in the grass, the world is too full to talk about. Opportunity is everywhere. W is for wholeness. Wholeness is not something we earn, it is something that we are. Wholeness is our natural state. T was for trust. Trust that the law works. Trust that good unfolds. Trust in your inner guidance. H was for heaven. It is here and now, is a here and now reality. Heaven is consciousness, the awareness of our unity with the infinite. This message perfectly straightened the inner stance needed for both treatment and for gratitude. Dennis Merritt Jones wrote, gratitude is not something you add to your life. It is something you reveal that has been there all along. Then the energy shifted upward as Reverend Joanne reminded us that unification, the second step of treatment, is not a concept to be admired, but a reality to be lived. She invited us to let God be God in us, and to follow the inner impulse of spirit. As Buddha said, there's no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. If God is our life, then life wants to move through us, creatively, boldly, and joyfully. Reverend Debbie then guided us in the heart space of gratitude and blessing. Did you guys all put your $50 or 50 thankful things on your list? Bet you did. She invited us to spread those blessings everywhere and to literally bless on. You know, some of you told me that writing that list brought unexpected healing, memory, revelation, and warmth. You know, once you start, it is hard to stop because you start with the little things and you find out how many little things become bigger things. Eric Butterworth wrote, gratitude is the key that unlocks the flow of abundance. So here we are, Thanksgiving weekend, perfect timing for the culmination of this month. Gratitude rocks. And why does gratitude rock? Well, because gratitude is not passive. It is not sentimental. It is not a courtesy. Gratitude is a spiritual force. It is creative, and it multiplies. Rumi wrote, I like this one, wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every corner of your life. And the Dalai Lama wrote, the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater our own sense of well-being. These ancient truths align perfectly with New Thought, because Holmes said, the feeling of gratitude is a powerful force that draws us to even more to be grateful for. And that is so true. So let's take a look at the 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment just quickly. Recognition, God is. Unification, I am one with God. Realization, I declare this truth. Thanksgiving, I give thanks. It is already done. And I let go and let the law work. So in recognition, this is building our consciousness on a rock, as Reverend Joanne taught us. Unification, this is letting God be God in us, as Reverend Joanne reminded us. Realization, this is our affirmative truth speaking, where we form in mind what we desire in experience. And thanksgiving, this is the emotional seal of the prayer. It is the feeling that aligns our consciousness with fulfillment. And release, this one's sometimes the toughest. This is trust. This is surrender. This is stepping aside and letting the law do its perfect work. Butterworth said, we don't give thanks to God, we give thanks from the God within us. I want to bring up something in our conversation today that bridges spirituality and science, something that supports New Thought, what New Thought has been teaching for over a century. Our inner state changes our outer world, and our intention, when aligned with elevated emotion, like gratitude, has memorable effects on our physiology. Some years ago, some researchers, Roland McCready, Mike Atkinson, and Dana Tomasino, created a study called The Modulation of DNA Confirmation by Heart-Focused Intention. You don't have to remember that one. Participants held strands of DNA in their test tubes, and what they found here was stunning. Researchers measured the DNA using special laboratory equipment so they could see subtle changes in its structure. Some participants were strained in heart-focused intention, which is it is a technique of shifting awareness into the heart area, generating elevated feelings like appreciation, care, love, and of course, gratitude. The others were not. And the participants who held the thoughts created no significant change in the DNA. When participants simply thought about the DNA or tried to mentally manipulate it from a neutral emotional standpoint, nothing happened. No change, no contraction, no expansion. This is very similar to what we teach in New Thought. Thought alone is not enough. It must be infused with feeling and vibration and frequency and belief. The participants then who generated a coherent emotional state did change the DNA. Those who practiced heart-focused intention, which was something that they teach in this institute, generated feelings of gratitude, appreciation, compassion, and produced measurable changes in the DNA structure. The researchers concluded that the human heart, when in a coherent emotional state, sends signals that change the structure of the DNA. Think about that. This is no longer just metaphysical theory. This was measurable biology. Thought doesn't change DNA, but gratitude does. The study emphasized what we teach consistently. A thought without creative power, or a thought without feeling, has little creative power. But a thought combined with elevated emotion, especially gratitude, has enormous influence. In Holmes's language, feeling forms the core of creation. And in heart math, in the institutes, their language, emotional coherence modulates the electromagnetic field of the heart. First one's easier to say. And in the study's language, heart-focused intention modulates DNA confirmation. They're all saying the same thing. Your feeling state is creative. Your heart influences reality, and gratitude has power. What this means for spiritual mind treatment? Well, the study demonstrates scientifically that the 4th step of treatment, Thanksgiving, what we've always taught about Thanksgiving. Gratitude elevates our consciousness, it aligns our intention, it creates coherence, and gratitude activates the creative power of the mind and becomes the virtual match for the demonstration. When we enter step 4, Thanksgiving, we are not merely being polite. We're not saying thank you because God needs to hear it. We are shifting into a physiological state of coherence, where our intention becomes energetically effective. The study concludes that the heart has electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than the brain. And gratitude activates that field. That field influences the body, the mind, as New Thought teaches, the creative medium itself. I think I read somewhere that our cells in our body regenerate over certain periods of time, different ones for different things, bones, this. And if you think about it from today forward, if this next set of cells comes on and you're in a state of gratitude, it will make a potential difference in the way your body reacts to things. So when we say it in treatment, I give thanks that it is already done. We are aligning our heart, mind, and intention in a way that has measurable effects. And spirit responds. This is why Thanksgiving consciousness multiplies blessings. The more we enter a state of gratitude, our biology changes, our brain waves change, our heart field expands, our vibration rises, our consciousness aligns with good, and the law responds to that vibration. Exactly as Ernest Holmes said, the feeling of gratitude is a powerful force that draws us to have more to be grateful for. And like Rumi said, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And Butterworth said, gratitude is the key that unlocks that flow of abundance, as we said. And Buddha, what you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. When we feel gratitude deeply in our heart, we become a conductor of blessings because we have shifted the inner environment to match the good we desire to experience. And that is quite literally why gratitude rocks. So let's put this into practice. Take a minute right now. Think of one thing you're praying about, something you want to manifest, heal, experience, or transform. Now, imagine it complete. Not next year, not someday, but right now. Picture it, feel it, see it, hear it, and now just simply say, thank you. That shift, even if subtle, is the feeling that activates step 4 of the treatment. That is the Thanksgiving consciousness. Now, this is also a place where people struggle. How do I feel something that's already done if it hasn't shown up yet? We've all had that step somewhere along our spiritual journey. So let's bring compassion in here for a minute. This takes practice. You don't sit down and just say it once and it's all done. You're not expected to be an emotional gymnast. You don't need to force it. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to fake enthusiasm. You simply need to practice. Here's 2 simple examples. Remember when you had more energy? Think back to a time in life when energy was abundant. You don't have to force it. That feeling is already in your memory. And that memory can be reactivated right now with this already done energy. Or remember how you feel after exercising. Even if you dread the workout beforehand, after you finish, you feel awake, alive, clearer, lighter, uplifted, and maybe heading for the ibuprofen. You know this feeling. You can you can reproduce it in your consciousness right now. And that's how we slip into the feeling tone of manifestation. And as Holmes said, feeling is the secret. And again, like Bodha just said, what you think you become, what you feel you attract. So let's tie the whole month together here. Because God is the rock, gratitude stabilizes our faith. Because we are one with God, gratitude anchors that unity. Because realization is creative, gratitude amplifies creation. And because release is trust, gratitude deepens our surrender. Gratitude is the bridge that connects every step of treatment. It is the glue that binds the intention to the law. It is the vibration that multiplies blessings. So when God rocks, we rock. When God flows, we flow. Gratitude is a spiritual rhythm of creation, And that is why, truly and completely, gratitude rocks. So, as we close out this weekend, repeat with me that Thanksgiving is not a holiday.